The great galactic throne room was full of light and power. The biggest leaders from many planets sat in their seats watching the Emperor speak. The Emperor was proud and strong. He looked like he owned the whole galaxy. Today was a special day. The Emperor wanted to show everyone his new prize, a human prisoner. Humans were known to be weak and small. Many in the galaxy thought humans had no real power. They were a joke to the aliens. The Emperor smiled, ready to make fun of the human in front of all. But then something strange happened. The doors of the throne room opened slowly. No one was expecting this visitor. A single human walked in, alone, unarmed, and calm. The guards tried to stop him, but he moved with quiet strength. He did not look afraid. The crowd gasped. How could a human come here without permission? The Emperor's smile stopped for a moment. He looked at the human with surprise. This was not part of the plan. The human stepped forward and stood tall before the Emperor. His clothes were simple and worn, but his eyes were sharp and full of fire. He did not bow or kneel. He did not speak with fear or anger. Instead, he said clearly, "I am not here to beg. I am here to tell the truth." The throne room was silent. Everyone waited, curious and confused. Who was this human, and what truth did he want to tell? The Emperor laughed loudly. "You must be joking," he said. "You are only a weak human. What truth could you possibly have that matters to me or the galaxy?" But the human's face did not change. He looked the Emperor straight in the eyes. "You have no idea what you are dealing with," he said. His voice was calm but strong, like a rock in a storm. The crowd began to whisper. Some were shocked by the human's boldness. Others smiled, thinking the human would be punished soon. But then the human said something that stopped everyone's breath. He said a name that no one in the throne room expected to hear. It was a name from a dark part of the galaxy's history, a name that many wanted to forget. The Emperor's face changed from anger to fear, just for a moment. His eyes narrowed, and he looked closely at the human. "How do you know that name?" he asked in a low voice. The human did not answer right away. Instead, he looked around the room at the leaders and the soldiers. He said, "Because we were there." The crowd gasped again. "We" meant humans. The human began to tell a story that the galaxy's rulers wanted to hide. He told how many years ago humans met the Empire in war. The Empire was strong and proud. They thought humans would be easy to defeat. But humans fought back with strange tactics. They used their minds and courage. They used their homes and their land. The humans surprised the Empire. The Emperor tried to interrupt, but the human raised his hand. "Wait," he said. "I have proof." The human reached into his pocket and took out a small, shining crystal. It was a data crystal, something like a memory stick. "Play this," he said quietly. The room's giant screens lit up with images. The video showed a space battle, faster and louder than anything the galaxy had seen. Humans in their small ships fought bravely. They destroyed an Imperial fleet. The Empire had tried to hide this loss, but here it was, clear as day. The leaders and soldiers watched in shock. Many could not believe what they were seeing. The Emperor's face turned red with anger. "This is a lie!" he shouted, but no one moved to stop the video. The human spoke again. "I was there," he said. "I saw the Empire run away." The crowd looked at the Emperor. The proud ruler was now silent. The human continued to tell the story. He said how the Empire tried to erase all signs of that battle, how they wanted no one to know that humans were strong and brave. He spoke about the Earth fleet that set a trap for the Empire. The trap was simple but deadly. The Empire fell for it, and many of their ships were lost. The story was full of courage, pain, and hope. The humans were outnumbered, but never outmatched. The throne room was quiet, except for the human's voice. No one wanted to interrupt. The Emperor's mask of pride was cracking. For the first time, the leaders saw humans as something more than weak creatures. The human was not just a prisoner. He was a warrior, a storyteller, a living proof of a hidden truth. As the video ended, the human looked at the Emperor once more. "Your empire is not as strong as it seems," he said. The room was filled with tension. The Emperor's guards moved closer to the human, ready to take him away. But something had changed. The crowd was no longer laughing or mocking. They were watching, listening, thinking. The day was far from over. The human had started a fire that could change the galaxy forever. And the Emperor knew it. The name the human spoke in the throne room still echoed in everyone's ears. It was a name from a forgotten war, a dark time the Empire tried to erase from history. The crowd was silent, watching the Emperor closely. He usually never lost his cool, but now his face showed a crack of fear. The Emperor asked again, his voice low and sharp. "How do you know this? Where did you get this information?" The human did not hesitate. "Because we were there. We fought and we survived." The words shocked the crowd. Many had heard stories of that war, but the Empire said humans lost and were crushed. Now one human was standing here telling a different story. The human took a deep breath and began to tell the truth, the story the Empire had hidden for years. He spoke of the first contact between humans and the Empire, not peaceful but violent and deadly. The Empire's fleets had come to Earth's outer colonies, destroying settlements without mercy. They thought humans would surrender easily. But humans did not give up. They fought with fierce courage and strange tactics no one in the galaxy had seen before. They used their knowledge of their home planets, their creativity, and their will to survive. The human said, "They expected us to break, but we never did." The Emperor looked uneasy. His guards whispered to each other nervously. The human continued, describing a battle in deep space that changed everything. Humans had a small fleet, much smaller than the Empire's. But they had a plan, a trap. They lured the Empire's ships into a narrow part of space where humans had hidden mines and fighters waiting. The battle was fierce, loud, and bloody. The Empire lost many ships. The human said, "Your commanders ran away. They left their brothers behind." The crowd gasped. This was not the story they had been told. The human reached into his pocket and pulled out a small data crystal. "Watch this," he said. The giant screens around the throne room lit up with a battle scene. The video showed ships moving fast, firing weapons, explosions lighting the dark space. Humans fought hard, destroying the Empire's fleet. The footage was clear proof. Many in the crowd stared in disbelief. The Emperor's face grew red with anger. "This is a lie, a trick," he shouted, but the images kept playing. The video showed the truth no one wanted to face. The human said quietly, "This battle was erased from history. You tried to hide it, but we remember." The leaders whispered among themselves. Some looked angry, others looked afraid. The human told how the Empire had tried to cover up the loss by rewriting stories, blaming bad luck or saying the humans surrendered. But the truth was different. The humans had won. Against all odds, they had stopped the Empire's invasion. The Emperor's face darkened. The room felt heavy with tension. The human spoke about the bravery of Earth's soldiers. They fought not for glory, but to protect their homes and families. They knew the Empire was stronger, but they had something the Empire lacked: heart and hope. The human said, "We were outnumbered, but we never lost our will to fight." His voice grew stronger. "That is why you fear us now." The crowd listened, some nodding slowly, others still in shock. The Emperor tried to regain control. "Enough," he yelled. "You are a prisoner here. You have no right to speak." But the human smiled slightly. "I have every right," he said, "because the galaxy needs to know the truth." The guards moved closer, ready to take the human away. But before they could act, The human raised his hand. Wait. His voice was calm, but powerful. There is more. The crowd leaned forward. The human began to speak about the secret the Empire wanted to keep hidden, the truth about the Emperor's own family. He said that during the battle on the ice moon, the Emperor's brother was left behind, abandoned to die. Officially, the Empire said he died a hero, but the human had proof that the Emperor's brother begged for help and was betrayed. The crowd gasped again. The human said, "This secret could change everything." The Emperor's face turned pale. The guards looked around nervously. The human said, "I will show you everything. The galaxy will hear the truth, not the lies." The throne room was filled with whispers. No one knew what would happen next. The Emperor's power was challenged like never before. The human had shaken the very heart of the Empire. As the human waited, a cold silence fell over the room. The story was far from over. The Emperor's mask was cracking, and the human was ready to reveal the secrets that could bring the Empire down. The throne room was silent as the human handed over the small data crystal to the royal technician. The giant screens flickered and then came to life with grainy but clear footage. The entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. The video showed a fierce battle in the dark emptiness of space, ships darting through starfields, bright flashes of laser fire, explosions ripping apart mighty warships. But these were no ordinary ships. They were human ships, small, fast, and clever. And they were fighting the proud fleet of the Galactic Empire. Everyone in the throne room stared in disbelief. The Empire's soldiers and leaders had been told for years that humans were weak and easy to crush. Now, the truth was before their eyes. The video showed humans using smart tactics, hiding in asteroid fields, setting deadly traps, and working together in ways the Empire's fleet did not expect. The humans were winning. They were destroying the Empire's ships one after another. The proud fleet that had conquered thousands of worlds was falling apart. The Emperor's face turned red with rage. "This is a fake," he shouted. "Stop this nonsense." But the video kept playing. The footage showed humans rescuing each other, fighting with courage even when they were outnumbered. The human standing in front of the Emperor said calmly, "I was there. I saw your fleet run away. You were not as strong as you claimed." The crowd murmured among themselves. Some whispered in shock. Others looked angry, unable to believe what they were seeing. The Emperor's guards shifted uncomfortably. They had been trained to believe humans were beneath them. Now, that belief was breaking. The human continued to speak. He told the story of how the Empire had tried to erase the battle from history. After their defeat, the Empire rewrote records, blaming the loss on bad luck or betrayal. They hid the truth to keep their power safe, but humans never forgot. They kept the memory alive, passed down from soldier to soldier. The human's voice grew stronger. "The Empire fears the truth because it shows that we are not weak. We fight with all we have, and sometimes we win." The crowd was silent, listening. The Emperor's eyes burned with anger, but he said nothing. The power he once held over this room was slipping away. Suddenly, the human paused and looked directly at the Emperor. "Your commanders abandoned their brothers during that battle," he said. "They left men to die on a frozen moon. The one you call your brother was one of them." The room gasped. The Emperor's face went pale. The human reached into his pocket again and pulled out a medal. An Imperial war medal, tarnished but real. "He left this behind when he ran." "The human said softly. The Emperor's guards tensed. The crowd was stunned. This was not just a story now. It was proof that the Empire's leaders had lied and betrayed their own. The human's words hung in the air like a storm ready to break. The galaxy watched, waiting to see what the Emperor would do next. Would he fight back? Would he deny everything? Or would the truth finally break his iron grip? The answer was not yet clear, but one thing was certain. The day the human shamed the Emperor before the galaxy was far from over. The throne room's heavy silence was broken only by the faint hum of the galaxy's most powerful leaders exchanging worried glances. The human's words and the proof he showed had shaken the very foundation of the Empire. The Emperor sat frozen for a moment, his pride wounded, his power questioned in front of all. For the first time, he felt the weight of doubt. His eyes scanned the room, searching for support, but even his closest advisors looked uneasy. The human stood firm, steady as a mountain. "You cannot hide the truth forever," he said quietly but clearly. "The galaxy deserves to know what really happened. The lies, the betrayals, and the courage of those who fought for their homes." The crowd began to lean in, some eager, some fearful. They all wanted to hear more. The human's calm confidence made his story more powerful. He was not just a prisoner or a rebel. He was a witness, a voice for those the Empire tried to erase. The Emperor finally found his voice. "Enough," he barked. "You will be taken away. Your words are treason." The guards moved forward, but the human held up his hand, stopping them. "If you silence me, the truth dies with me," he said. "But if you listen, you might learn that humans are not your enemies and we are the warning." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "What warning?" he asked, curious despite himself. The human smiled faintly. "That the galaxy is changing. That new powers are rising, powers you cannot control." The crowd murmured again. The Emperor's voice dropped. "You speak of threats beyond our borders?" "Yes," the human said. "But first, the Empire must face the truth within." He looked directly at the Emperor. "You cannot rule with lies. One day your people will see through them." A silence fell over the room. The Emperor's guards hesitated. The leaders whispered among themselves. The human's words had planted a seed of doubt that could grow into rebellion. The proud ruler's face tightened. He realized that this moment was a turning point, not just for him, but for the whole galaxy. Suddenly, one of the Empire's generals stood up. "Your Majesty, if I may," he said cautiously. "Perhaps this human speaks some truth. Our recent campaigns have not gone as planned. Maybe we need to reconsider our strategies." The Emperor shot the general a hard look but said nothing. The crowd took this as a sign that even the Empire's top commanders were unsure. The human nodded slightly. "Change is coming," he said, "and humans will be part of it. Not as slaves, but as equals." The throne room filled with whispers and questions. The Emperor's grip on power was weakening. The human had done what no one else dared. He had shamed the Emperor in front of the galaxy, exposing lies and sparking doubt. The question now was what would happen next. Would the Empire try to crush this human and silence the truth forever? Or would the galaxy listen and begin to change? The day was far from over, and the battle for the galaxy's future had just begun. The throne room still buzzed with quiet talk and uneasy looks. The Emperor sat back on his throne, eyes sharp but tired. The human had done what no one thought possible. He had shaken the very core of the Empire's power. For the first time, the Emperor felt the cold touch of fear. His empire, built on lies and control, was starting to crack. The human stepped forward again, his voice steady and clear. "The galaxy is watching," he said. "Your people are not blind. They feel the weight of your lies. You can try to hold on, but the truth will find its way. The human spirit is strong because it never gives up." The leaders in the room shifted uneasily. Some nodded, realizing the human spoke words they had wanted to hear but never dared say aloud. Others looked angry, still loyal to the Emperor's iron rule. Suddenly, a young alien delegate stood up. His voice was filled with hope. "If humans can stand against the Empire and reveal its truths, maybe it's time for all of us to stand together. The galaxy needs a new way, one built on trust, not fear." The Emperor's face darkened. He raised his hand to silence the room, but the moment was lost. The crowd was already changing, their eyes no longer filled with blind loyalty but with new ideas and questions. The human looked around the room and said, "This is just the beginning. There are many like me, people who want peace but who will fight for freedom if they must. The Empire cannot stop the future." The Emperor's guards finally stepped forward to take the human away, but this time, The crowd did not cheer or shout. They watched in silence, some with respect, others with doubt. As the human was led out, he turned and spoke one last time, loud enough for all to hear. Remember this day, the day a human shamed the Emperor before the galaxy, the day the truth began to change everything. Outside the throne room, the galaxy was already stirring. Messages spread quickly across star systems. Humans were no longer the weak creatures the Empire said they were. They were survivors, fighters, and the spark of hope for a new future. The Emperor sat alone, his power slipping like sand through his fingers. The human's words echoed in his mind. The galaxy would never be the same again. Word of the throne room event spread faster than light. On every world, across every star station, beings from all species watched the footage, the humans' calm words, the video proof of the Empire's lies, and the silent cracks forming in the Emperor's pride. The galaxy had seen the moment with its own eyes, and now it was reacting. Riots began on border worlds first. People who had suffered under the Empire's rule, high taxes, broken promises, missing families, now had a face to follow. The human didn't give orders or call for war, but his courage had done something more dangerous. It made others brave too. In secret meetings, resistance leaders whispered his name. In hidden bunkers, old rebels dusted off plans they'd once buried in fear. Even in the royal court, some officials began asking quiet questions. If the Emperor lied about the humans, they asked, what else did he lie about? The human, now locked in a deep prison cell, sat calmly. He had expected punishment. He had expected to be silenced. But he had played his part. He had told the truth in front of the galaxy, and now truth was growing into something much bigger than him. One night, a strange sound echoed through the prison. Not alarms, not footsteps, a voice, familiar but unexpected. I thought you might need a ride, it said. The human looked up. Through the bars stood a woman with sharp eyes and a scar down her jaw. She wore old armor, patched with human military symbols. Captain Reza, the human whispered, surprised. You're alive? Barely, she said, opening the cell. You stirred up quite the storm. Time to get out before the Emperor decides to kill you in silence. As they moved through the shadows, alarms finally rang out. Guards shouted, lights flashed. But Reza and her team were fast, and they weren't alone. Across the Empire, secret, rebel groups were rising, and now they had someone to rally around. They escaped the palace. They escaped the city. And then they left the planet entirely. Above the atmosphere, in a stolen Empire shuttle, the human looked down at the glowing world. We've shown them the truth, he said. Now we show them what comes next. Reza nodded. Rebellion, she said. You lit the match. Now let's burn the lies down. The stars were quiet, but the galaxy was not. In every corner of the Empire, rebellion spread like fire through dry grass. The Emperor tried to stop it, sent fleets, made speeches, punished anyone who spoke the human's name. But it was too late. The people had seen the truth. The human, who once stood alone, in the throne room, was no longer alone. He had become a symbol. On a hidden moon, deep in a war-scarred system, the human stood beside Reza. Around them were rebels of all kinds, humans, aliens, former soldiers, even defectors from the Empire. Ships landed every hour, bringing weapons, supplies, and more people ready to fight for something better. They had no single flag, no mighty capital, no great army. But they had belief. And that was more dangerous than any weapon. The Emperor, in his golden tower, watched reports of rebellion with growing rage. He ordered his best fleet to crush the uprising. Find the human, he commanded. Bring me his head. End this, now. So they came. Hundreds of warships, dark and deadly, swarming toward the rebel base. The Empire's final blow. But the rebels were ready. The battle began above the moon, in the silent black. Human ships, fast and clever, danced through. The larger Imperial cruisers, Alien fighters joined them, striking from impossible angles. Even captured Empire ships turned their guns against their former masters. Reza flew at the front, leading the charge. The human watched from the command center, guiding ships, calling out tactics, reading the enemy like a map. He had studied the Empire long enough to know their every move. The Empire had more firepower, but the rebels had something the Emperor didn't understand. They were fighting for each other, for freedom, for the future. Not fear. The turning point came when one of the Emperor's own admirals switched sides mid-battle. His ship turned on the rest of the fleet, blasting a path through the chaos. He hailed the human directly. "This is for the lies," he said. In hours it was over. The Empire's fleet, broken, its proud banners, burned. From his tower, the Emperor refused to believe it. He shouted, threatened, promised revenge, but no one came. Even his guards began to back away, unsure. Then a message arrived, broadcast on every channel to every world. It was the human. He stood on the bridge of a rebel ship, tired but strong. "We did not ask for war," he said, "but we will not be ruled by lies. We are not your enemies, we are your future." He looked into the camera, calm and steady. "This galaxy belongs to everyone, and today, we take it back." Across the stars, people cheered. The Emperor, for the first time, had no words. He was no longer feared. He was no longer obeyed. He had been shamed before the galaxy. And now his empire was falling. The human, once a prisoner in chains, was now a leader of a new age. Not a ruler, not a king, but a voice. A reminder that even the smallest spark of truth can burn down a mountain of lies. The day a human shamed the Emperor became the day the galaxy was reborn.